twice within the span of a few weeks, Moshe Rabbeinu tries to calm us down, to put us at ease, but it would seem that the opposite effect is what is actually achieved. A few weeks ago we read, Am Yisrael, all HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks of you is that you fear Him, and the Pasuk goes on, to love Him, to serve Him with all your heart, etc. And the Gemara, picking up on that formulation of Ma Hashem Elokecha Shalom Yimach Ki Im Liyira, asks, is Yiras Shamayim really such a small, little thing that Moshe Rabbeinu is asking that of us in that way? And the Gemara answers that for Moshe Rabbeinu, yes, Yiras Shamayim is in fact not that big of a deal. Fine, that's Moshe Rabbeinu. That's not us. And when we come to this week's Parsha, when Moshe Rabbeinu talks to us about the fact that Ki Karov Eilekha davar ma'od, lo b'shamayim hi, lo me'ever layam hi, Machlokas in the Mefarshim, whether that's talking about Tshuva more specifically, or the Torah in general. For our purposes, let's assume that it's talking about the Torah in general, about Hashem, but obviously Tshuva is also very relevant to these psukim. We may find ourselves feeling the same thing. Every Elul, every Yom Noraim, we just started Slichos this past Motzei Shabbos, we find ourselves in the same situations. Again, I don't want to generalize, but most of us come to Slichot with the same laundry list of things we have to work on that we had the previous year. So if in fact Karov Eilekha davar ma'od, again, be it Tshuva, be it Avodas Hashem more broadly, why is it that Elul, that Yom Noraim often come with such a sense of frustration when we look back to where we are now as opposed to last year, and we still have such a long road ahead of us for improvement in Tshuva and Avodas Hashem? Is it really Ki Karov Eilekha davar ma'od? Is Moshe Rabbeinu correct? Or is it just, Moshe Rabbeinu like last time? For him, it may be Karov Eilekha davar ma'od. For him, it may be Lo Me'ever Layam Lo B'Shamayim. But what about the rest of us? Maybe for the rest of us, it really is Me'ever Layam, and it's really not as Karov as Moshe Rabbeinu makes it to be. So here we have two options. We can either try to convince ourselves that Moshe Rabbeinu is right, and that really is Ki Karov Eilekha davar ma'od, and it's really not such a big deal. We just have to understand that and internalize that. But again, that leads very often to that same sense of frustration, of feeling stuck. If it's so small, how come I'm not really improving? So I think that we should adopt a different approach, and that is that Moshe Rabbeinu is correct, but not that Ki Karov Eilekha davar ma'od, and that it's really not such a big deal. It's not that it's not a big deal. It's not that it's not challenging. It's very challenging. Improvement in Tshuva and Avodas Hashem is very, very hard. But the answer is that we're a lot more capable than what we initially thought. Moshe Rabbeinu isn't overestimating our potential. We are vastly underestimating our potential and where we're able to go and what we can achieve. The Rambam, no less than the Rambam, writes in Hilchos Tshuva, when he talks about Bechira Chavshis, he says the following. He says that Kol Echad, Kol Adam, Roi Lios Tzadik K'Moshe Rabbeinu. Kol Adam Roi Lios Tzadik K'Moshe Rabbeinu. If we choose, everyone can be a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu. And at first glance, that seems preposterous. Nobody could be Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rambam himself says that nobody could be a Navi like Moshe Rabbeinu. That's one of the Yud Gimel Yikarim. But if we look more closely at the Rambam, we see that he knew exactly what he was saying. Because he doesn't say that you could be a Navi like Moshe Rabbeinu. Like we said, that's out of bounds. Moshe Rabbeinu's Nevuah was unique. No one could come close to that. But the Rambam says, tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu. There's something about Moshe Rabbeinu, his tzidkus, his righteousness. That's something that we can all attain. We can't be Moshe Rabbeinu, we can't be a Navi like Moshe Rabbeinu, but a tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Rambam, that is something that we can all achieve. Now again, what does that mean? Even that seems very, very daunting. Tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Chaim Wasserman writes that what the Rambam is getting at here is not that we will be Moshe Rabbeinu. Again, that's impossible. But there's something about Moshe Rabbeinu that we can all attain. And what is that? Maximizing our potential. I'll quote from what he writes here. If someone were to work thousands of years to try to improve himself, he won't even reach Moshe Rabbeinu's ankles. He's so out of reach. Because no one was granted Moshe Rabbeinu's skill set at birth. That's impossible. No one was granted his midos, his chachma. He's unique in every possible way. There's no way we could be like Moshe Rabbeinu. So tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't really mean tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu. What does it mean? Tzaddik ke Moshe Rabbeinu. How so? What's the difference between tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu and tzaddik ke Moshe Rabbeinu? So Moshe Rabbeinu did something. He did something with the talents he was given. He worked on himself and he maximized his potential. Again, quoting from Rabbi Chaim Wasserman, everyone ba'asher husham with the skills they were given, with the package they were given at birth, obviously with the expectation that we should develop it. But just like as Rav Chaim Wasserman points out here, that a korban ani is accepted by Hashem the same way as a korban asher is, so too in our avodas Hashem, with whatever package we were given at birth, everyone born with a different temperament, with a different set of skills, with that we're expected to serve Hashem to the fullest of our, to the most of our ability, and to maximize our potential. Moshe Rabbeinu did that, and that's what we have to do as well. Now here there are two stories to drive the point home. There's a Hasidic story which is very well known with Reb Zusha. Reb Zusha says that Achrim he's going to be asked, how come you are Moshe Rabbeinu? He's going to be asked, why weren't you Zusha? And that's exactly the point. And I think we could be, we can add on to what Reb Zusha said. He won't ask why you weren't Moshe Rabbeinu. He'll be asked, why weren't you Tzaddik Kim Moshe Rabbeinu? And if you're a Tzaddik Kim Moshe Rabbeinu, that in essence is being Zusha. And there's a Litvish counterpart to this story. And if you have a Hasidic version and a Litvish version, so then it's probably a Yesod that's true and worth thinking about. The story goes that Rav Naftali Amsterdam, one of Am Yisrael Salanter's prime Talmidim, came to him one Purim in a state of extreme distress. He had something to drink a bit before, but he was very, very distressed. And he said, Rebbe, there's no way I could be like you. If I only had your midos, if I had the Shagas Aryeh's mind, if I had the Baal Yesod V'Shorosh V'Avoda's heart, then I'd be an Eved Hashem. But as I am today, there's no way I could be an Eved Hashem. And Rav Yisrael Salanter looked at him and said, no, Naftali, with your heart, with your mind, and your midos, you will be an Eved Hashem. And that's the message, that's the hope, that with whatever we were given, Karov Eilekha davar ma'od, because b'ficha ubil vavcha la'aso, so it's your avoda, not anyone else's. And if we're able to maximize our own potential, whatever that may be, and we only have to compare ourselves to who we were last year, yesterday, not to anyone else, not to Moshe Rabbeinu, not to Rav Zusha, not to Rav Amsterdam, nobody, just us. B'ficha ubil vavcha la'aso.